Repotting. Repotting is a necessary process with all plants that are growing in containers. For normal house plants, this is usually a case of potting on into a larger pot just before the plant becomes pot-bound. With bonsai trees, the pots that they are being grown in are, generally speaking, considerably smaller than those used for general house plants. Bearing in mind that the roots are needed to draw up nutrients and water, etc., to the top growth, they have to be kept in the best of health for them to be efficient. Bonsai trees are normally repotted in the latter part of the dormant season, or just before new growth commences in the spring. This dormant period is not so much in evidence with indoor bonsai, as subtropical and tropical species tend to grow most of the year round, and only have a very short, if any, dormant period. A lot of subtropical and tropical trees can be repotted and root pruned throughout the year, providing they are given sufficient bottom heat to encourage the formation of new roots. Determine whether your tree needs repotting by gently lifting it up from its container and inspecting the root ball. If this appears to be a mass of roots, then the tree is becoming pot-bound and it should be repotted. Tease out approximately 25 to 35% of the root ball with a pointed stick or similar implement. With a pair of sharp sterilized scissors, remove the roots that are now hanging from the remaining root ball. After putting some small pieces of plastic mesh or crocks over the drainage holes, add a layer of sterilized grit or gravel. Follow this with your selected compost. Do not forget that this should not be so fine that it will clog and stop the penetration of air, which is essential to the root ball. You can make up your own general compost as follows: 5 parts of Johnnins, number 2-3 parts sharp sand, 2 parts peat or vermiculite. After mixing, the compost should be sieved to remove the fine particles. If you find it difficult to spare the time for watering or you are away from your home frequently, I would strongly recommend that you add a very little polyacrylamide water storer to your compost. 1 gram is enough for 1 liter of compost. And who is suggesting this? Mr. John Ainsworth is suggesting this. This polymer looks like grains of sugar, whose book I'm reading, so if you make any money from it, give it to Zakat charity. Moving on, 1 liter of compost. The polymer looks like grains of sugar. It has the property of ingesting water and fertilizer to many times its own size. The roots penetrate the wall of the polymer and I missed a bit. Polyacrylamide water stored to your compost. 1 gram is enough for 1 liter of compost. The polymer looks like grains of sugar. It has the property of ingesting water fertilized to many times its own size. The roots penetrate the wall of the polymer and take up the moisture, etc., as and when it is needed. Replace your tree in its pot, making sure that the front is facing you. Position the tree carefully for the most artistic effect. Add your compost in and around the root ball, pressing in gently with your fingertips to ensure all air pockets are filled. Leave a small depression in the compost below the lip of the pot so that when watering, the water will not simply run off the root ball. Small rootlets, etc., that stick above the root ball can either be snipped off or pressed gently back into the compost. The whole should then become thoroughly watered with a fine rose and protected from strong sunshine for a few weeks until it has re-rooted. After the initial watering, keep a little drier than normal. Fertilizing can recommence after a month. Next, we should talk about groups of bonsai. Thank you very much for listening.